Now let me move to the tax on short-term capital gains. First, general understanding, then exceptions. Short-term capital gains, what it is? You have to calculate the gross total income. You have to take the deductions so that you get what is it? Total income. Right? Here the point is short-term capital gains will be taxed at par with any other income. Short-term capital gains normally will get taxed at par with any other income. Long-term capital gains will get taxed at a flat rate of what is it? 20%. Now the point here is there are some situations when short-term capital gains will be subjected to a flat rate of 15% and 10%. Right? Now what are those situations we have to take? Other way around, by now after completing the IPCC PCC, you are all clear with the point that short-term capital gains must be treated at par with any other income like salary or house property income or profits and gains from business and profession income or the income from other sources. Now, what for the concession is given for short-term capital gains arising from sale of securities? Simple reason. By sale of securities, if you are paying securities transaction tax, you are being given this particular facility. Otherwise, no person will invest his money in the shares. Then economy will be in trouble. So by giving a due consideration to this to encourage investment into the corporates, we have brought this particular beautiful concept called as Section 111A, tax on short-term capital gains in case of securities. Here first point is like subjected to the satisfaction of the conditions, rate is what? Rate of tax on short-term capital gains arising from sale of securities is 15%. This is first point to be brought to your mind. So what are those things? Equity shares in a company or units of a equity oriented fund. What are the two things? One is equity shares and second thing is the units of a equity oriented fund. And the transaction should take place on or after 1/10/2004. Transaction should take place on or after 1/10/2004 and such a transaction is chargeable to what? Securities transaction tax. Then the amount of income tax is to be calculated at 15%. In this context, friends, try to understand, if you are a resident SSC or resident individual or a Hindu undivided family, you don't have any other income or your any other income falls short of the basic limit of 1,80,000 from the current previous year. Then what is the point, friends? You have to reduce from that basic limit the other incomes. The unexhausted portion of that basic limit must be reduced from the short-term capital gain, and on the balance only you have to calculate at the rate of 15%. So the benefit of unexhausted amount of the basic limit being adjusted against the short-term capital gain is available, is a point to be well noted, but that facility is to whom? Not to the non-resident, residents. Then friends, please do remember, any income, general principle, any income which is subjected to a flat rate of tax, flat rate of tax like short term capital gain or long term capital gain, which is subjected to a flat rate of 20% and all, generally against that, the chapter 6 deductions like ATC, ATD, ATG, these shall not be allowed as a point. This is the another important thing that should go into your mind. Of course, for your clarity, since you are preparing for the final, what is equity oriented fund, madam? What is equity oriented fund? Fund का मतलब क्या हुआ? That is, individual person don't have expertise. Fund is a trust kind of thing where experts will sit and general public will subscribe to those funds, and since they have got expertise in making good investments and making good profits, we are giving the money to the fund and they are going to invest somewhere. They can invest anywhere, but when we say equity oriented fund, whatever the money that fund collected, 65% of the total proceeds of that fund, if they are invested in the equity shares of the companies, then domestic companies, again equity shares of the domestic companies, then such a fund you call it as a equity oriented fund as a point. So now another important aspect is this concessional taxation of a flat rate of 15% on short term capital gain. Friends, please do remember it is applicable to all SSEs, whether you are a resident or a non-resident or a foreign institutional investor. And then please do remember, for section 111A to be invoked, the SSE must hold that particular share or the unit as a matter of investment, not as a stock and trade. It must be held as a investment is a point. So another important aspect or the point to be remembered is securities transaction tax must be necessarily have been paid. Other way around, you can't invoke the 111A is the point. So these are the beautiful points which you have to keep in the mind, write down. Tax on short term capital gain, section 111A, section 111A. See, at the final level, what is most important is clear understanding of the provision. Just like that is not the point. Overall understanding है तो भी PCC में चल जाता, मगर फाइनल आने के बाद एक एक लाइन को एनालाइज करके ब्रेन में लगाना पड़ता. But at the same time, it should not result in over analysis. Right? You should not be on either of the extremes, being indifferent or being overcautious. Both are not warranted. Right? What is the principle? No extra thinking, only ordinary thinking. Look at section 111A. Section 111A shall be applicable if the following conditions are met with. If the following conditions are met with. Number 1, gain arises from sale, from transfer of capital asset, arises from transfer of capital assets. Number 2, capital asset is either an equity share in the company or a unit of equity oriented fund, equity of or a unit of equity oriented fund. Then third is the asset is a short term capital asset. The asset is a short term capital asset. Then fourth point is the transaction of a sale, the transaction of a sale is entered into on or after 1/10/2004, on or after 1/10/2004. Finally, such a transaction is chargeable to securities transaction tax, chargeable to securities transaction tax. Next, noteworthy points. Noteworthy points here is number one, section 111A is applicable to all SSEs. Section 111A is applicable to all SSEs irrespective of residential status. Irrespective of residential status. Then capital asset must be held as investment. Capital asset must be held as investment and not as a stock in trade. And not as a stock in trade. So friends, try to understand this 111A is not applicable to the preference shares, debentures, deep discount bonds, units of the debt mutual funds, where fund is being invested in the debt instruments. So write down, section 111A is not applicable to, section 111A is not applicable to preference shares, comma debentures, comma deep discount bonds, comma units of mutual funds, comma units of mutual funds. And one more clarity is section 111A is applicable, section 111A is applicable only if sale transaction is chargeable to STT and is carried out on a recognized stock exchange. इसका मतलब क्या हुआ दोस्त? लाइक ये 111A जो है वो बायबैक में, नहीं तो डिलिस्टेड शेयर्स के लिए और नहीं तो नेगोशिएटेड डील्स में, this and all is not applicable. Why? Because necessary condition is the securities transaction tax must have been paid and the transaction must be carried out through a recognized stock exchange. Is a point. Then finally, one more point you just take. In respect of resident individuals comma resident HUFs if there is any unexhausted amount of the basic exemption limit, then such unexhausted amount shall be reduced from short-term capital gains covered by section 111A. Covered by section 111A. Covered by section 111A. Or last but not the least, the final point, deductions under section 80C, comma 80D, comma 80G shall not be allowed against income covered by section 111A. So the next issue that we have to take up is a long-term capital gains and a tax on long-term capital gain. Of course, long-term capital gain is subjected to the tax at the flat rate of 20%. In case if you are taking the benefit of indexation. Of course, there is an exceptional situation. Normally, it's a long-term capital asset, you take the benefit of indexation and compute the long-term capital gain and will pay the tax at the rate of 20%. What is the exceptional point? In case of the shares, there is a option. वो option क्या है? If you want, you take the benefit of indexation and pay the tax at the rate of 20%. Otherwise, don't take the benefit of indexation. From the sale consideration, you reduce the cost and pay the tax at a concessional rate of 10%. But that is not for all assets, all long-term capital assets. It is only for the shares and debentures. That clarity we should have. Once it comes to the point of the final, we should have the clarity to the tune that whether it is applicable to the shares and debentures. Yes, it is applicable to the shares and debentures purchased in Indian currency. If a non-resident is purchasing the assets using the foreign currency, shares or debentures using the foreign currency, then what is it? Your first proviso to section 48 is applicable. What is that first proviso says? You have to convert the sale consideration, cost, everything into the foreign currency and compute the capital gains in foreign currency and reconvert the same into the Indian currency. That is the first proviso. What is the second proviso? Benefit of indexation. What is the third proviso? In which situation benefit of indexation is not allowed. Like that. And fifth proviso, what we have discussed in 48, securities transaction tax will not be allowed. So these classes are of some use only when you keep on reading the completed lessons, right? All my effort is only to tell you what are the points where you have to keep stress. because these are the points by which we are losing the game. Many students will say direct access we are not, however we prepare we get only 40 marks. If you well prepare you get 43 marks, if you don't prepare you get 40 marks, is the common joke I listened from many of the students. But why it is happening? One has to analyze. Why it is happening? Because you have to very carefully jottle down the points when you are studying any law, income tax law. Then only you will be able to correctly present it. Just now we have seen this concessional treatment, is it available for shares or debentures? Shares तो yes, debentures देखना पड़ता, तो ऐसा नहीं होना. जब प्रिपरेशन हुए तो नोट्स, सी व्हेन वी रीड इट्स ओनली इन इंग्लिश ना, तो वी गेट अंडरस्टैंडिंग. रिमेंबरिंग इज द प्रॉब्लम, फॉर विच अनलेस यू राइट द नोट्स you will not remember. Some student was asking, sir, why you are not providing the handout? My answer, their reply is, it will not be healthy to provide the notes. Right? Positively saying, we don't provide the notes, we will make the students to write the notes. Rest they can get from the study material of the institute. Openly, positively. Negative aspect is, for me it becomes a distribution problem to the e-video students, because I have to send the video, I have to send the material, but not considering those administrative problems. I am not giving the notes, it's not the point. N number of textbooks are available in the market, so aap happy well you can, but then if n number of books are available in the market, why we should take this e-video? Point here is, book में बहुत ज़्यादा रहता, मेरे notes में जो points है, जो points आपको होना वो लिखा देते आपसे. Kindly bear with me, because you are going to enjoy all this hard work when you are writing your exam. Right? So in the next session to follow, we take up tax on long-term capital gain, and so also the, what is it, a clarity, that is most important. long-term capital gains में tax में उतना discussion का point क्या है बोले तो रहता कहाँ पे, once he is a non-resident, what is the law says about long-term capital gains and taxation in the hands of the non-residents. दोस्तों please remember, non-resident taxation independently मैं सीख लेते पढ़ लेते वैसा थोड़ी बात नहीं है. जहां जहां आपको नॉन रेजिडेंट के बारे में रहता वो सब क्लैरिटीज आए तो नॉन रेजिडेंट टैक्सेशन कम हो जाता. थैंक यू.